Welcome to the city of brotherly girls.
Let me start from the top again to give you a proper introduction. Let me start back up. So I'm here with one of the best fighters in Philadelphia history, Ivan Mighty Robinson, known for his 1998 upset and win of the year. Ring Magazine, known primarily for his 2 wins over Arturo Gatti. Also had wars with some of the legends like Julio Cesar Chavez, Oscar De La Hoya in the amateurs. 50 fights in his professional career, one of the greatest to ever do it out of Philadelphia. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Robinson. I appreciate it.
Mighty.
Mighty. Yeah, mighty.
Thanks.
Appreciate you coming on. It's an honor to have you on. I'm sure everybody watching will really appreciate hearing your story, hearing how you got into boxing, and just some of the stories that you have. So how did it start? Like getting into boxing, what was your inspiration to do it from the beginning?
Well, it was crazy. When I was like 2 years old, my dad used to put me in the bed with him, and he said I used to tell him to put his hands up, and I just used to hit his hands. Back then, when I was coming up, you can go in the gym early. Nowadays, I think it's 10, but we got kids in the gym at 8. I started when I was 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I started when I was 5.
That's crazy. And then from 5 years old on, did you fight actively at 5 and all?
Well, at 5, I was doing a lot of back then it was called exhibition bouts. I would get on some of the big amateur cards, and I would do my thing. People wanted to see me. At that time, between 5 and 6, I remember they used to call me Mighty Mouse. So, by the time I got to like 9, it was just crazy that how I was known throughout the world. Everybody knew who Mighty Mouse was. People wanted to see me. And I'll never forget it. We was at a gym down on Broad and Erie called Yorkside Boys Club. And right across the street from right around the corner, it was crazy. My dad used to work at a seafood joint. He was a cook. And I used to go there every time before a fight and get weighed in. The owner used to let me weigh myself in. Because my dad used to work in a big restaurant where they used to weigh their meat that came in. So I never had a problem making weight, or if I did, I always was used to go on that scale, and that scale would always have me correct. So I had no problem. But right across the street from the gym was Temple Hospital, one of the biggest hospitals in Philly. And right across the street from there was one of the biggest parking lots in the city. So what they did, they had a amateur bout there. And me, I'm young. I don't know what's going on. My dad, the owner of the gym named Eddie Goodman. I mean, not my fault. Jimmy Beecham. No, who was it? Jimmy Hill, my fault. Jimmy Hill. He had a poster made up. And he put on a poster that he wanted 500 kids to see the great Mighty Mouse.
Wow.
I was young. I didn't know what was going on. But all I know was that day when we fought outside, that parking lot was full with a whole lot of people. The street was crowded, and Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Philadelphia. It goes from all the way from South Philly, deep South Philly, all the way up to Willow Grove. But from Erie Avenue all the way down to Allegheny Avenue, the street was packed. And I went out there and I performed, to the best that I know how. And from there on, my name just got bigger. I started competing in more important fights. In the 80s was a great year for me. I was older. I really got a chance to wear my own outfits. She's not my real sister, but I call her my sister. Her name is Jackie. She used to make all my outfits. And I used to wear some real nice outfits, which was crazy for me to be so young. But, I used to wear the outfits and went out there and performed real well. I fought in back then it was called the ABF, which was the ABF Mid-Atlantic. I beat everybody in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This was the first year that I got a chance to advance. I advanced to Washington, D.C. And when I went out to Washington, D.C., they had a guy that was out there named Sean Bay Mitchell. I fought Sean Bay Mitchell and I lost to him. but I really thought I won. But a lot of people said the reason why I didn't win because Sean Bay Mitchell had just went to the Nationals the year before and won it, and he was like the champion all around at the time. So what I did when I lost to him, I told him that I was going to come back the next year and beat him. He was like, "Oh man, you too young, you don't know nothing." So we went back to the gym, we trained hard, got a lot of great boxing, messed around again, beat everybody in Philadelphia, went to DC, beat him. Well, I didn't beat him. I stopped him that year. That was my first year. I went to the Mid Atlantic. I think that was like in '88, somewhere around like around '88, because '89 was the year that my first year I fought in the Pennsylvania Golden Gloves. I won everything in Pennsylvania. I went out to the Nationals and I beat everybody in the Nationals except for when I got to the finals. That's when I fought that kid called the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya. And man, Oscar was like God at the time. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. It was just his name rung bells. But when I fought him, I thought I beat him. Everybody who's seen the tape, seen the fight, it's on YouTube and all that. People still say to the day that I beat him. What was great about it, I had Joe Frazier's son, Marvin Frazier, who was one of my coaches, and I had Barry Stump. And man, we went out there that year, and I don't really think they expected me to get to the final, but I got to the finals. I lost to Oscar. Then I messed around and got a call from Pat Nappy, who was the head of the Olympic boxing team, who was one of the coaches. He invited me to a junior camp. That was the first year that I finally got a chance to like meet everybody from all around the world. I was on a U.S. junior national team with Tim Austin, Derek James, Vernon Forrest. It was a whole bunch of us, and Sean Fletcher. We all got a chance to really bond and meet with each other. I went out there and I think I lost to the Korean dude. So I just came back home and I was getting a lot of love here in the city of Philly. People was loving me, but what made it so even great was that how much love I was getting from everybody across the world. So, I just continued to fight. It was really big around that time because at that time, around 89, 90, I was in high school. And a lot of my teachers and everything, were like not giving me advances, but, they was letting me not come to class, go to the gym early because they know I was getting ready to head out to the Nationals to prepare for the junior world team and the national team. So, man, it was just great. And then 90, I fought in the ABF, which was still in the Mid-Atlantic. I went all the way to the National, messed around again and ran into that kid called Oscar. And lost to him again, but, everybody thought I won. I really thought I beat him this time. I really did. So it was just ironic how my dad was training me at the time. When I got back home from the Nationals, the Goodwill games was coming around. And I think it was just crazy how it was that year in 90 when we went to the Goodwill game. It was Cuba, Russia, USA. I want to say Bulgaria. Those was all the countries that was invited to the tournament for the Goodwill Games. And what was even exciting about it, this was the year that they had just built the Mirage Hotel in Vegas, and we fought out there. And me and Oscar was in 2 different brackets. I can't remember who he fought, but I remember fighting the Bulgarian the first night. I beat him. And the second night I was supposed to fight, which I did, I was supposed to fight the Russian, which was the #1 Russian in the world. Besides Oscar, I think Oscar was like #2 and I was like #5. Nobody expected me to beat the Russian. I'm not gonna say I didn't expect to beat him. I just knew that I was the better fighter, and I just had to go out there and prove what I needed to do to go out there and win. And I went out there and I stopped him. And of course, who was I in the finals against? Again, Oscar De La Hoya. And it was just crazy because USA TV Network was something big. but I'm used to watching like Law and Order and all that type of stuff on USA TV Network. But when I found out that US TV Network was going to actually do the Guildwood games, man, that was crazy. It was a whole lot of great positive things going on, and like that was my first time in Vegas, so Vegas was great for me too. We filled the stadium. I mean, the arena. The arena was packed. Oscar had a lot of people and from his camp, from his city of um LA out there. I had people from Philly. My dad finally was able to come out. He worked my corner. My mom came out. My best friend Baron came out. It was just exciting for me. It was something that was real thrilling. And I just went out there and I performed, man. Again, I thought I went out there and I beat Oscar, but Oscar got denied. Um, and something that made me mad that I never forget that Oscar said, he kept saying, not kept saying, he said that he didn't understand why I could keep making that 125-pound weight and we just keep fighting each other and I'm losing to him. But like I told him, I said, look, you lost the last 2 fights, man. I said, you got that fight because of who you are. And I don't know if it hit a nerve or something, but that following year, Oscar moved up to 32 and I stayed at 25.
Wow.
And it was supposed to be 2 gold medalists in the 92 Olympics. It was supposed to have been him and it was supposed to have been me. But I lost to a kid named Julian Wheeler. To this day, I still don't understand how did I lose to that kid. But I lost to him, and I was pretty upset because I felt as though that me being at 125, I held 125 like it was nothing. I mean, I fought at 125, but I was coming in at like 121, 122. So the weight was no problem at all. It was just another learning experience for me with Oscar. But I just prayed to God and I said to myself, I got to get in the gym and work harder. I don't know what I'm doing to keep losing to this kid. And, my dad, he was just, he was agitated. He worked me hard. But that following year, Oscar moved up to 32. And I captured everything at 125 from 91 of like February to maybe like 92 of the summer, right for the box off and the trials for the Olympic team. The year before that, they sent me to Barcelona, Spain to have I guess it was a pre-Olympics. I went out there and I fought. I lost to the Korean. I mean, I beat the mess out of this Korean. And at that time, that's when they came out with the computerized scoring system. That system wasn't made for me. And a lot of people said that's why they felt that I lost. I lost to the Korean 49-47. That was something that I think I will never, ever forget a day of my life. The score, the fight, and everything. But, it just didn't happen for me. It wasn't meant for me to go to the Olympics, so I decided to just go ahead and turn pro.
Wow. That's a story right there. Now tell me a little bit tell everyone listening about your training regimen, the mindset, not only like the physical training, but the mindset and the preparation that you're doing for camps, that you're doing before fights.
Well, the thing of it was that made it so good, I guess, and that made it unique for me was that, like I said, my dad trained me and he taught me the sport of boxing, the sweet science. He taught me everything. Everything I learned from my dad. And it was like when I lost to Oscar, we always had it, and it was just crazy how my dad would just come up with, I wouldn't say with crazy plans, but he would just come up with crazy solutions on things to work on and to do in the gym that worked. And, I just tried to prepare myself to be ready for whoever was in my corner. And one thing that made it good in the amateurs was that you knew who you was fighting. But back then we didn't have tapes where you could look at your opponent to see who he was, to see what type of fighter he was, or if he threw a great left hook, or if he went to the body well. You just had to work off of what you knew and how you trained in the gym. My resume at from like 5 until I retired was crazy. I mean, at the age of 14 or 15, my dad had me getting up early in the morning. Because we lived like about 4 blocks from my elementary school, and So it was 4. It was about, I'll say about 10 blocks from my elementary school to my high school. When I was in elementary school, my dad used to come pick me up from school, wait for me at the beginning of the schoolyard, pick me up, take me in. Back then, my dad didn't drive, so we walked to the gym. I used to walk to the gym. I used to get out of school at 3. I used to get to the gym like about 4:15, and we used to work. I had another trainer at the time named Johnny Settle. He trained, but we used to meet him at the gym. And after I got finished training, he would drive me and my dad home. So my regimen was like, I would have to get up early in the morning, do my running, come home, eat breakfast, get my book bag, get dressed, and walk with my dad to school. Then after school, my dad would have my bag, my gym bag, and I would have my book bag. But he would take my book bag and make me carry my gym bag to the gym. And what he used to do, if I had a great day in the gym, when we used to walk back home, it was a pretzel store, like 2 blocks from my high school that I went to, Simon Gratz, where they sold pretzels and cheese sticks and all that. And if I did good in the gym, I would be able to get a water ice or a pretzel, or some days I just didn't want nothing because I was tired. All I wanted to do was just get home. As I got older, it was still the same way, except for I would go to the gym. I mean, I would go to school. From school, I would shoot straight home, and then I would have to meet my dad at the gym. And then I would train, put me through my regimen, and I would come home from school. Now, what the crazy part about coming home from the gym was that when I was younger, I didn't have time to be on the telephone. I didn't have time to watch TV. I just had time to eat, do homework, and take my butt to bed. But as I got older, things different. Talked on the phone, all that type stuff. The camps, the amateur camps they was like special. I mean, we trained in Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center. We used to run 5 miles. And what was crazy about it, every morning we would be up at 5:30. The coaches would drive in the van. And I was on a lot of the Olympic team boxing team with Oscar De La Hoya. And Oscar, it was me, Oscar, Tim Austin, Eddie, Air Griffin, Chris Bird, Ronald Sims, Jeremy Williams, Melvin Foster, Larry Donald. It was all of us, man. We just had a ball. And in the morning, when we go run at 5 in the morning, we getting up, face all crazy. We wash up, put our running gear on. We go outside. We would stretch for about 15, 20 minutes. We was out on the road at 5:30. Now, running 5 miles, Oscar was really that guy. We would run at 5:30. Now, we running a 5-mile trail from one end of the training center, I think it was, to the park, around the park, back to the dorms, because we used to stay in dorms, back to the dorms, and then we would go back in the dorms and take a shower, either go to sleep, eat breakfast, or back then a lot of us was gambling in the room. Oscar would beat us every single day. Every single day we would get back to the camp back to the dorms like around 6 o'clock, 6:05, 6:15, somewhere around there. Oscar would be back at the camp already done, took a bath, took a shower, whatever it is, they back to sleep. Oscar used to run his behind off. So I understood why he was such a, great athlete. He never really tired too much. Only time I think I seen Oscar really get tired was when he took his first loss in the amateurs when he lost to the German. And he prayed and he swore to all of us on the team that the next time he fought the German, he would knock him out. And he went to the World Championships out in, I think it was Australia. And he went out there and he knocked the German out. And he became the number one 132-pounder light. At that time, it was lightweight because I was a featherweight, 125. And he became the number one champion. And he was number one across the board.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, yeah, we had some crazy times. We had a big cafeteria where The Olympic boxing team used to eat, the girls' Olympic basketball team, the men's basketball team, the gymnastic team, the volleyball team. Man, it was crazy. And then right across from our dorms was the big facility of the boxing gym, and then also the basketball gym. I'll never forget it. 92, getting ready for the Olympic trials. We trained in Colorado again before we went to Los Angeles for the Olympic trials, and we was all playing basketball. And I played basketball with Dawn Stanton, and I'll never forget how she crossed me over before. I'll never forget that day, man.
She's a legend too. I heard
Yeah,
I grew
definitely
up
is.
playing ball, and I grew up playing basketball in the Philadelphia area. And your son was a really good basketball player, right? He played at
Yeah,
Cabrini.
yeah. How you know all that?
I played basketball. Yeah. I
Oh,
played
okay.
yeah, I graduated high school in 2015. I remember I think he's a little bit younger than me.
Yeah,
But
he is.
AAU circuits and things like that. I remember they were saying, "Oh, that's Ivan Robinson's his dad, Mighty's his dad." I was like, "Oh, wow." But he was a good player, really good player.
He played his butt out. He just his knees gave out on him. So now he coaching. So he doing this thing too. I'm still behind him 100%.
Yeah. Now, did you like your dad got you into boxing? Did you not really want to get him into boxing as much? I heard a story where you gave
Well,
yeah.
it's crazy because and don't really get me the line, but I'm gonna say early 2000s. Yeah, it had to be like early 2000s or it had to be 2000 because I had just lost to Angel Man Freddie. I was living in Jersey, and I had a gym in Jersey in Pensacola where I used to live, and it was just crazy. I never ever pushed my son to be a boxer. Never. That wasn't his thing. He always when he was born at the hospital, I kind of had a decision to make. Like, do I want my son to box or do I want my son to play basketball? Do I want him to play football? And I just couldn't decide. And I wanted to go get his mom something and him something. So I didn't know what to get. So I ran out to the sporting goods store and I got a basketball. And I put the basketball right in the crib with him. And from that day, I think it was like he started playing AAU basketball like at the age of 7. He never put the ball down. And I mean, I was happy and I was glad because I seen the progress and I seen how good he was. But it was just crazy that I had a gym where I had a basketball court in it, and I used to have a gym. He would never ever put a pair of gloves on. And I used to ask him, like, his name Mighty too. I'm like, yo, Mighty, why you don't put no gloves on? Your dad got a gym. You come at the bag. He like, Dad, that's something I don't want to do. I'm not gonna push you to do nothing that you don't want to do. He wanted to play basketball, so I pushed him to play basketball.
And now, do you think? And he ended up being a great player. Do you think that the things you learned from your dad with boxing kind of correlated to any sport, like the determination, maybe the training, the mindset, like
Well,
things?
it was crazy. It was crazy because um my dad, man, I love my dad to death, man. He just like when I was young and I was coming up through the amateurs, the summertime is like right now in the summertime is like one of the best times as an amateur to be known. Go to a lot of competitions, get your name out there, let people see who you are. So when you transform into getting ready to become a pro, they know who you are. But for some reason, my dad letting me be a kid. Every summer, I got the choice to do whatever I wanted to do. I played basketball one year. I was okay, but I already knew that was something I didn't want to do. He let me play football. I played football. I didn't like football because I didn't like to get hit. And what made that crazy is because one guy could hit you and then another guy could hit you. And I didn't like that. The third thing was I played baseball. I was really good at baseball. I thought baseball was going to overlap from basketball, and I mean boxing, and move boxing out. But one day we was at a game and I was the pitcher. I was the starting pitcher. And I had rest for 2 weeks. But this week was my week to pitch. And we was playing against one of the teams that was behind us. I think they was like number 2 or number 3. And I threw a fastball and the kid hit the ball back to me. Thank God I had reflex. I moved out the way. After that inning was over, I decided I didn't want to play baseball no more. I went back to boxing. So boxing is what it was.
That's all. And so yeah, so your dad inspired you, but ultimately it was your choice and you decided to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, my dad, I mean, my dad was a good dad, man. He even one year when he made, well, like I said, he made me take off during the summer. He taught me how to be how you want to say it, learn how to be a young man. He had me out there selling pretzels, selling water ices, getting up early, doing all that stuff. So, my dad was in my corner 100%. He made sure that if I was going to be boxing, I knew, how to be a young man, the things to do to grow up to be a man. So, it was great. And boxing was just even that much more influencing because of the simple fact that you have to be humble, which a lot of guys aren't. You have to be humble in this sport. Just because you knock a couple guys out, you can't go flying off the hook and think you're the best man or the best fighter in the world. That's not what it is. And it teaches you a lot of discipline. You have to have discipline to be a fighter, which I tell my fighters nowadays. I tell these guys, look, I'm in the gym with you guys. I train you guys. But once you leave the gym, I'm not with you no more. This is when it kicks in to really know if you want to be a fighter or not. Guys say they run. They don't run. They not running. I can see it when they come in the gym. So boxing is definitely something that puts you in the line of being a young man, learning life, period. It's just a life learning lesson.
For sure. I actually met you the first time I met you, you were working with not remember Nafir Charles?
Yeah, and I fear charge. Yeah.
I met you the first time I was covering a fight for John DeSantos, his website, Philly Boxing History. That was the first
Uh-huh.
time I met you. So I remember talk a little bit about that, like any young and upcoming fighters that maybe you see a little bit of yourself in, or any that
Well,
you think will make it.
I don't, me as being a trainer, I'm not, and that's what I try to tell the parents when they bring their kids to have me teach them the sport of boxing. I'm not just a boxing coach. I'm a teacher. I teach kids. I talk to the kids. I try to call the kids when they see how they doing in school. Like when I was coming up in school, my dad, like I said, we used to live about 10 blocks from the elementary school. My dad used to come to the school on his day off from work. My dad used to come up to the school and sit in the back of the classroom and just watch me do work. And a lot of times I wouldn't even know he was there, but you know how you have kids laughing and pointing at you. And I'm sitting there saying, like, why isn't this guy right next to me supposed to be doing his work? But he laughing at me and he pointing at me. So I just happened to turn around. My dad's sitting in the back of the room.
Wow.
My dad knew every teacher in elementary school, middle school, and high school. He kind of broke off on me. He didn't really like follow me that much in high school because I guess he was letting me be a young man. But in my neighborhood, everybody knows my dad. You know, he's just a great guy and does great things for me. Till this day, I have a kid by the name of Dominique Mayfield, who's a heavyweight. He's 4-1 now. My dad trained him. I manage him. So, that's working out. I had a great about 2.5, 3 years with Nafir Charles. Nafir Charles just decided that he didn't want to fight no more. He went to being 8-0. That was a great ride for me. And I just continue to work with the kids in the community and just try to enlighten the kids on what's going on.
That's awesome. Now, what gym are you out of? Where's the gym? Where can
Well,
kids?
actually, we was just at Harrogate Boxing Gym, but Harrogate closed down. So now I'm in line of trying to find another gym to go call home.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice. So let me ask you this. Early on in your career, I don't know if you ever got this question before. Let me know if you ever got it before. Early on in your career, you fought the drunken master, Manuel Augustus. Well, they said it was Floyd's toughest opponent. What was it like?
Well,
I couldn't find any
I
footage
can
of it anywhere.
I can see why he was Floyd's toughest opponent.
He was
Floyd
unanimous.
Floyd was a master. Take nothing away from Floyd. Floyd was a great fighter. Um, and it was just something about Manuel Augustus, the drunken master, man. I mean, you can hit this guy with 4 or 5 shots, man. He come right back at you. Then you throwing shots at him, and he doing his drunken style. He making you miss him. He countering with shots. Man, I honestly, yeah, that was my toughest fight until I got to Gatti, and then that was my toughest fight with Gatti. Then as I got older, I fought Chavez. Then that was my toughest fight. So I just had tough fights. Period. I mean, I fought Angel Man Freddy. I fought Jesse James Lehi. I fought Vivian Harris. I fought Diaz. I don't know if it's Angel Diaz, but I fought the Diaz brothers. I mean, I was just a guy that was willing to fight anybody. I think fans got the opportunity to see me do well in fights when I fought. Some fights I won, some fights I lost. I think I had 2 draws in my career. I just had a spectacular career. I would take nothing away from it. If I had to do it all over again, the only thing that I regret is that I'm 3 losses with Oscar De La Hoya.
The amateurs, yeah.
Yes, sir, the amateurs.
Yeah. Now talk a little bit about. So you got Augustus early on in the career. The next big one was your
Philip
ringmaster.
Holiday. Philip
Yeah.
Holiday. Because I fought Philip Holiday right after I fought Angel Man Freddy. And I mean, shoot, no tougher fight to have before you fight your first world title fight than to have against Emmanuel Augustus. The only thing the difference between Emmanuel Augustus and Philip Holiday was that Emmanuel Augustus was pretty much of a boxer. He could box you from the outside. He just gave you a lot of angles. He was always in his drunken master style, so you didn't know where a punch was coming from. Man, he was just tough, and I think that because I looked him up, a lot of his fights that he fought before he fought me were fights that he should have won. He just didn't get the decision for. I don't know why, but he just didn't. That was a great fight going into the Philip Holiday fight. Philip Holiday fight was a great fight too. That's a fight that I will remember always, and a fight that I want to. Hold on a second. Let me go inside.
No problem. Yeah, thanks for doing this on 4th of July too. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you know. I totally forgot it was 4th of July when I texted you, and then I was like, ah, shit.
I did too, but it's good. I ain't worrying about it. It's a great thing. But like I was saying, the Philip Holiday fight, um, the only thing I didn't like about that fight was that right before that fight, I had a squabble with my dad. And me being young as I was, I think I was like 22, 23. I'm still young. The boxing era is still kind of brand new to me. So me and my dad had a fallout, and me trying to think that I'm a man now, and that I'm 21-0. I'm beating guys that I should be beating that are tough. And at that time, I think I was #1 in the world because I was fighting the champion. Me and my dad got into a squabble, and I fired him, which I shouldn't have never did. And actually that camp, I went to camp with Pernell Whitaker. I was in camp with Pernell Whitaker, David Tua, Arturo Gatti, and Robbie Pender from Australia. The camp was okay. Oh, and I was in camp with Junior Jones because Junior Jones was getting ready to fight Antonio Marco Barrera. That's when Junior Jones went out there and memorized Antonio Marco Barrera. So I was in camp with Pernell, Bob Waring, Lou Duva, all those guys. They was there, but I was basically like working myself, training myself, doing everything right. My chief second, which was Odell Cathay, he came down. He stayed with me for the final 2 weeks of camp. So he was working. He'd been working with me since the amateurs, so he knew everything about me. Everything was good. Everything was working good. So the night of the fight, well, the week and a half before the fight, Tommy Brooks came back from off his big high win with Junior Jones. Now the dudes knew that Odell Cathay and my dad James Robinson were my corner guys. and I had Leon Tabs as my cut man. I needed a chief second because Odell moved up to number one. So they brought Tommy Brooks in. So when we go to where did we fight at? We fought I think we fought at the Turnstone.
Oh, up in New York.
New York. They told me that Tommy Brooks was gonna be my trainer. So I'm looking at it like, okay, no problem. You know, Tommy Brooks is gonna be the chief second. I just seen him, you know, do his thing with Junior Jones. And he was training Junior Jones for a while. So of course they had a chemistry together. I didn't look at it that time. And like I said, you know, I'm just in my early 20s. I'm really still not really too focused or too sure about how things go with like your trainers and how things can just disrupt in your corner, whatever. So to make a long story short, Tommy Brooks, my trainer, he's supposed to be the chief second. So the night of the fight, we in the dressing room training. So Odell Cathay always, even when my dad was the number one guy, Odell Cathay always held the pads. So at this time, Tommy Brooks come over and start warming me up. I'm not paying no attention because I'm focused on Philip Holiday. So I'm like, all right, getting ready, this, that, up. So now I'm mad because of some fact, the situation with me and my dad, but I'm focused on Philip Holiday. We goes out to the ring walk, to the ring. When the first round ends, I comes to the corner, study Odell Cathay coming up, Tommy Brooks comes up. I'm in the fight. I'm not even worrying about the situation with that going on. All I'm worried about is Philip Holiday and fighting. As the fight go on, I'm starting to see Tommy Brooks is starting to transition himself as being the lead guy. So I'm like, this don't seem right, but I'm still performing the way I perform. It was a grueling fight. I thought I edged him out, but prior to the fight, everybody kept saying to me, "Hey, Mighty, you're gonna really have to be on your game, man, because this guy runs marathons and this, that, and that." I'm like, what that's supposed to mean because he run a marathon? So what? But it did mean something because his energy level, his stamina was like crazy. But it wasn't nothing that I couldn't deal with or nothing I felt, you know, paranoid about. But at the end of the day, we didn't get to fight. I thought I won a fight. A lot of other people thought I won a fight, but I didn't get denied. He won. My thing was I was thinking about beating Philip Holiday and actually fighting Shane Mosley because for some reason I don't know how it worked, but Shane Mosley was number two. And I knew once I became champ, Shane Mosley was gonna be the guy, you know, knocking on the doorstep for the title. But evidently we didn't get the fight. We didn't get the win. We lost. I was really upset about that. For one, because my dad wasn't there, and I pretty much put that on my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? That I thought that was a problem that I should have handled a lot more better, but I didn't, and it didn't happen. But God knows best, and I guess He's decided for me not to get the win. But also, when not getting the win, I got a phone call as soon as I got back to the dressing room, and I know you know who that was.
Gotti.
No,
Gotti.
no, it was my dad.
Oh, okay. What did he say?
What did he say? You don't want to know what he said. It wasn't nice. It wasn't nice.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you would have kept me, we would have won, right?
Exactly. Well, that's one of them. That's
Okay.
one of them. That's one of them. Yep.
That's great. And now moving on from that, did you end up bringing your dad back, right, for the Gotti
Yeah.
fight and everything?
No. I didn't. I didn't bring him back for the Gaddy fight. We were still kind of like in turmoil, but he did call me a lot. We did talk a lot. You know, of course, he gave me his view on what I should do and how I should do it. I we when we was getting ready for it was crazy because we had just fought like maybe a month before that, and I had got cut. But I was in the gym training because I wanted to get a fight. I wanted to set up another fight, get another fight. My manager, which is Eddie Woods, man, he's one of the best managers I guess I ever had because I had nobody else but him. He had me from the time I turned pro, which was 92 until I think '02 or '03, somewhere around there. Um, he knew that I wanted to fight. He knew I needed to get back. He knew I needed to have my name circulating back in the mix with all the lightweights. So he couldn't find me a fight, and I was really getting mad. And like I said, we had just fought about a month ago. I was already in the gym because I wanted another fight, but I had a cut over my eye, and my cut man, which was Leon Tabs, excuse me, which was Leon Tabs, told me to put butterflies on it. So we was trying to get a fight. Come to find out, I found out through I think a friend of mine told me that Shane Mosley was getting ready to come to Philly to fight, and he didn't have an opponent. Now, me and Shane, we pretty cool. We know each other from the amateurs. So when he came to Philly to do the press conference, I was I was supposed to be at the gym, but I had told my trainers and them that I wasn't training today. I went down. Me and my best friend, my right hand man, went down to I think it was at the either at the Leocore or the Spectrum, one of them two. We went down there to the press conference, and Shane Mosley was, saying how he loved to fight in Philly and this, that, and that. So I grabbed the mic and I was like, Shane, how you gonna come to Philly and fight somebody else, but not fight me in my city? So me and Shane went back. Me and Shane went at it, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, fight, arguing, yelling, this, that, and the other. So it got to the point that I guess the promoters was like, man, look, fuck that. Y'all two fighting. So I went right in the gym. I was already in the gym. I went back to the gym that night, trained, and got ready for the Shane Mosley fight. The city knew that the fight was getting ready to happen. I can't remember who was the headliner because I don't think we was the headliner. The city was buzzing. I think the city really wanted to see that. I really wanted that fight because at the time, like I said, Shane Mosley was the hottest lightweight out there. Even though people knew about me and knew how good I was, Shane Mosley was that dude at the time. So we went in camp. We got ready for the fight. But what we failed to realize was that cut that my cut man said to put butterflies over, we had a mask. This when the masks was really being popular at the time. I had a mask and I was sparring. And you can't really not like slip a punch from a jab or whatever or right hand because the mask is so big, it's gonna catch the punch sooner or later. And my cut caught like 3 or 4 jabs in my right hand. And what happened, it started bleeding. So we took the headgear off and it reopened. And the fight was out. I was mad. My team was mad. The city was mad. A lot of people took and sold tickets back or gave them back, whatever they did, because we wasn't allowed to fight because the cut reopened. I wanted that Shane Mosley fight so bad. So now I'm home. I'm sitting on my couch in the house watching TV, sitting here saying to myself, "Man, I just missed the biggest opportunity in my life. I'm hoping something come through." I'm calling my manager like, "Yo, you gotta get me something. I don't want no name fighter. I want to fight somebody in the top 10 or the top 20." He like, "Mighty, I'm doing my best. I'm gonna try." Now we were supposed to be signed to main events. I never ever signed a contract with main events. But early in my career, when I first turned pro, I was with Bobby Goodman. And Carl Moretti was the matchmaker for Bobby Goodman. When Bobby Goodman closed his company,
he gave Carl Moretti the option to take a couple fighters that he wanted over to main events. And I was one of the guys that he took, but we never signed a contract. So to make the long story short, my manager called me one night, like 11:30 at night. I was asleep. So he was like, Ivan, you up? I'm like, no, I'm not up. I'm like, give me a minute, hang up and call me back. So I ran in the bathroom, washed my face, and he called me back. So I went in the living room. I'm like, yo, what's up, Eddie? He like, I think I got a fight for you. So at this time, we didn't have cell phone. I just had a regular phone. He like, yeah, Ivan, I think I got a fight for you. So I'm like, man, that's good. I'm like, I'm ready to fight. So I asked him like, who is it? He said, you sure you ready for this? I said, yeah, who is it? And he know that I fight anybody. So that I guess that's the reason why he said, are you ready? You sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. When he said, main events got you a fight. So I'm like, who? He like, Arturo Gatti. I looked at the phone. I was like, who? He was like, Arturo Gatti. I was like, let's go.
Wow.
Man, that fight was one of the biggest fights of my career.
It's one of the biggest fights of all time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, Arturo Gatti, rest in peace. One thing, it was crazy. Like I said, I was in camp with Purnell, David Tua, Junior Jones, and yeah, that's it. Never did I spar Arturo Gatti. Never. Then a couple months later, before we fought Arturo Gatti, I went back to camp again with Arturo Gatti, Pernell Whitaker, and Zab Judah. Never did I box Arturo Gatti. So when the fight happened, before the fight happened, we had a press conference in New York. And this was before all the big luxury cars came out. This was back when limousines were out. So my manager got me a limousine, me, him, and my right hand man rode up to New York for the press conference. So we had the press conference, reporters coming over to me, people coming over to me getting autograph signs and stuff like that. So they finally put us on the podium. So they was like, well, we have a fight. We have a great fight. I think we were the undercard at that time. I think we was the undercard, and I think that I think we might have been the headline. I don't know, but when they went to the podium, they started to speak to the fighters. They picked me first to talk. So they asked me. They was like, "What you think about the fight? How's the fight gonna go? Can you give us your opinion on what you think is gonna happen?" I was just like, "Man, look, I'm glad that Arturo Gatti picked me. Um, he shouldn't have picked me though because I'm going out there to beat him." And I said he's a great fighter. I know he's gonna come with everything he got, but we're gonna win. So then they mess around and they get the mic to Arturo. Arturo goes and say, Ivan can't stay in the ring with me. I'm gonna knock him out. And then this was the most of
Right.
and I
Well, you can't bring it down to a gunfight, right?
how you know that?
Listen, I'm a boxing fanatic.
That's exactly what he said. And that shit just rung a bell the whole time. And I never forget it when we on our way back to Philly, I asked my right hand man, I was like, yo, Rennie, what did Arturo Gatti mean about knives and guns? Man, I mean, like we fight, we ain't got no knives. He was like, Ivan, he was like, you one of the dumbest motherfuckers in the world. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, man, Arturo Gatti saying you can't punch, man. He ain't worrying about you. You ain't gonna do nothing but cut him up. Man, that stuck with me that whole camp. That whole camp. But I had great sparring. I sparred with Anthony Thompson and Mike Melvin for the whole thing. We was in camp for like 6 weeks. Man, them guys gave me good boxing for the whole camp. The whole camp, though, I knew that Arturo Gatti was going to be coming at me, throwing big hooks and hit me to the body and all that. So my thing was to just box him the whole time. And that's what I trained the whole time in camp. But, sometimes, like I tell my fighters, like, you always got to have a plan B. Sometimes you got to go to a plan C and D. You always got to have a different plan or a different strategy when you're going into a fight. And I never forget it when we getting ready to go out to the first fight. We was going to go out to the walk. We always get in the huddle and say a prayer. We said our prayer, and we was about to walk out. And I turned around. I was like, no. I turned around. I told everybody, I said, yo, come on back in here. And the TV cameras was right there. And they was like, come on, Ivan, you gotta walk out. You gotta walk out. I told them my guys, I was like, yo, we not boxing on your guys. I'm going out there. I'm gonna knock this motherfucker out. And after that, I went straight out to the ring. My thing in that fight was I love Arturo. Like I said, Arturo, to me, he was like he was my golden ticket. Everybody knew that I could fight. Everybody knew I was a good fighter. But I think that at that point in time, everybody really wanted to see, was I able to be qualified, or was I able to really carry the throne at that 135-pound weight class? And I told my team, I was like, man, look, only way Arturo Gatti gonna win this fight tonight, he gonna have to knock me out. I didn't really go out in that fight trying to knock him out, but I did want to put him on his ass. And the thing was, I wasn't backing up. So the thing was, I made it a slugfest, but I didn't really make it to be one of the greatest fights of the year. It just happened that way. So I'm glad that HBO, sports writers, all the critics too, they voted me as for fight of the year. But I know that wasn't new. That wasn't nothing new for Gaddy, because I think Gaddy already had won it like a year before that. So it was good. The second fight, um, after the first fight, we won. Um, like I said, I didn't expect it to be the fight of the year, and I didn't really expect it to be as great as it was. I mean, like when I stepped out in that arena that night, the run out to the ring, my adrenaline was so excited. I didn't even think about all the people that was in the stands or anything. But when I got in the ring and he made his walk, I just happened to look around, and I'm sitting there saying like, damn, this is a lot of people. And back then, Gaddy from Jersey City, I mean, he had all the mobsters, all the guys. Back then, The Sopranos was one of the #1 TV shows on TV. Every soprano that was on TV was in the audience. I got to meet them all, and then also I went to school with Aaron McKee. Aaron McKee came, he bought AI, what I'm saying? At the time, what's my man name? The guy that went to jail. I can't remember his name right now, but he played for the New Jersey Nets. He was a big, yeah, Paul, Jason,
yeah.
Jason Williams, yeah, he was there. After the fight, we was all down at the casino at the gambling table. Man, it was just electrified the way that the fight took place, and how after the fight it was even that more memorized, because it was like I couldn't get to my dressing room. Then when I finally got to my dressing room, I got dressed and I went downstairs. That's when AI and all them guys down at this crab table. We shot dice for like 2 hours. Now it's like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking down the boardwalk with my son and my daughter, getting ready to go back to my room. You know what I'm saying? And crash for the night. You know what I'm saying? I got HBO, I got Larry Merchant, I got all them guys talking about. And what's the promoter name from New York?
Back then or nowadays?
No, he's still around.
Bob Aaron?
No, not Bob Aaron. Oh shoot. Well, I can't think of his name right now. I'll think of his name later. They was just trying to get me to sign for a second fight with Arturo Gatti. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, like, yo, I just fought 10 rounds with one of the most brutal punches in my weight division. And y'all want me to fight a second fight? I'm like, no, I'm cool. I'm not fighting. They like, no, we need this. I'm like, no, I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting. So what I did, I went back, got my clothes, got dressed, and I left. Because at the time, like I said, I was living in South Jersey, and that wasn't no more than like an hour away. So I decided to get out because they was getting on my nerves. I wanted to get some rest. So as I'm going home, back then, that's when you had the big phones in your car. My manager calls me. It's like, Ivan, yo, they still want you to admit, they want you to sign for the second Gay fight. I'm like, Eddie, I'm not fighting that guy, man. I'm not fighting him. I'm like, man, let me just go home and get some rest. He like, all right, I'll try to hold him off until tomorrow. I'm like, nah, I said no. He like, man, they just keep bugging me. So hung up the phone. I get home, my phone ringing. I'm like, yo, what is this? They like, Ivan, yo, man, we got to have this second fight. I'm like, do y'all? They like, Gaddy want to get that win. I'm like, he want a what? They like, he want that win. He want a rematch. I'm like, nah, man, I'm not fighting. I'm on the phone, went to sleep. That morning, I had porters outside my door. I had my manager. I had my lawyers. All I'm like, yo, Ivan, you got to have the second fight. I'm like, I'm like, all right, Eddie. I'm like, Eddie, go back to the drawing board, talk to him, find out, what the deal gonna be, where we fighting at, and this, that, and other. We must have had like a 2 hour conversation before they finally inked the fight in. And to me, the two Gaddy fights were the biggest fights in my career, the most money in my career. And even though I felt as though that I was done, but after winning that second Gaddy fight, it just propelled me to bigger and better things, man.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what made you decide? I watched them a lot, but I rewatched them earlier, and right from the bell rings. Usually, Gotti is the one that's pushing the even third. He's coming out. You pushed him right from the beginning and jumped on him right in the middle of the ring, and then
I
even
told
if,
you,
yeah, like
I told you I was mad.
what made you switch? Like what made you? Usually, it's like punches and bunches, volume, take the guy out. But what made you with Gotti switch up your style and just go right after him? You know?
I told you that first fight, to me, the press conference did it all because before the Gaddy fights, I never had nobody at the press conference talk. I ain't gonna say dirty because Gaddy didn't really talk dirty. He just talked what he felt, and I
Yeah.
never had nobody talk to me like that or say things to me like that. So that just made it a little angry. Made me a little angry. But what made me really angry was when I talked to my guy in the car and he told me that. That just turned the switch on even more. Then the night of the fight, man, like I said, once I ran out to the ring, I got in the ring, and then I happened to look at all the people in the audience. And like I said, it's amazing when you doing something that's so great and something that you love, and you get all the love of people from different, I don't want to say different generations, but different, and I don't want to say organizations, but different sports guys that come to you or come to the fight that I just seen on TV. I never would think that fucking AI would come to my fight. I know Aaron McKee because we went to school together. But Aaron was playing basketball at the time for the Sixers. You know what I'm saying? I know he got a busy schedule, but for a guy like Aaron, which me and him went to grass together, and we seen each other, we used to eat together and talk. But for him and for me not to see him from '92 to fucking '98, but for him to come to a fight of a guy that he went to school with, that he know from the same city, man, that was love. And then I messed around and I didn't even know Jay Williams. You know what I'm saying? He knew AI, he knew Aaron, of course, because they played against each other. You know what I'm saying? Then I had a couple other great fighters. Roy Jones came through. Me and Roy pretty tight. You know what I'm saying? I had a couple of my '92 Olympic guys. So for that to be around, for me to be around that magnitude of people, it was just crazy. And then for Gaddy to say the things that he said, it just struck a nerve. And I just felt as though that in order for me to win that fight, like I said to you earlier, you always got to have a plan A, B, and C in boxing because somewhere, sometime along in that fight, you're going to have to switch up. You always got to be aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it. So I just went out and I switched it up by going out there and punching Arturo in his mouth first.
Yeah. Now, what did you say to him in the? So you're going kind of going back and forth. What did you say to him at the end of the fourth round? You guys were like right,
Oh, I
like
told him that I told him that I wasn't going nowhere. I
yeah.
told him I wasn't going nowhere. Um, I told him he wasn't getting rid of me like that. And I told him, I said, if you want a war, let's go to war. And he was like, I want one. I was like, well, let's get it.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's just crazy how, you know, now I sit back and I watch fights and I'll be one of the spectators now sitting there like, man, they crazy for punching each other upside the head like that. But now that I'm talking to you, I'm sitting here thinking like, damn, I was just that guy a century ago punching another guy upside his head as he was punching me upside my head.
Yeah. Now, even watching that fight over, it's almost like it's exactly like you said. After the first round, you come out, but then you show like a lot more emotion than usual. You like put your hand up, you're like, yeah, and it's
Yeah,
almost, you know what I
like
mean?
I
You
said,
really
man,
like
I was excited.
the excitement of it.
Yeah, I was very excited. And I always hear people say, even in basketball, when the tides are turned. You know what I'm saying? They say, like in a basketball game, if a guy hit three straight 3-pointers, they're like, oh, he done changed the game. He done changed the game to this. I think I changed the tempo because one or two things, of course, back then around that time, you could actually see who you was fighting. You knew what he was gonna do, you knew how he was gonna come out, this, that, and other. I knew what Gaddy was gonna do. He wasn't gonna change up his style too much, and which he really didn't. He knew what I was gonna do to a point where I think he got lax. He was like, well, Ivan gonna box, he gonna move to like I swear to God, Arturo Gatti didn't know that I was gonna punch him in his mouth right at the bell. He didn't think that. He didn't know that at all. But see, he knew that after the fact that it happened, that he expected that in the second fight. But I didn't do that in the second fight.
Yeah, and I think you won cleaner in the second fight. Like I think you won pretty decisively in the first, but then the second was almost every round. The way you changed it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Can you hear me, chat?
Yeah, I can hear you. I had a phone call, but
No,
yeah,
that's all. But yeah, I think the second fight you dominated. First fight was close. I think you definitely won. Second fight was a clear. It was clear. You know what I mean? It was a clear victory. So you looked like you almost had a better second fight, even though the first one was the fight of the year.
yeah, I know. I mean, I'm still asking myself, like, what made that first fight? Then I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
What do you think made the first fight the fight of the year, knowing what you know, saying that the second fight was more dominant than the first fight?
So I think the first fight, you got to take into effect that Gotti's from Jersey. It's in Jersey City. He's a big name at the time. He's an Italian guy, like you said. All Sopranos are there. It's that whole big thing. But just the way, like going before the fight in Ring Magazine and everything, the preview, you got a boxer in Ivan Robinson. You got a scrapper in Gotti. No one's expecting it to be like this big scrap like it was. And then the way that you came out was so unexpected because people think you're going to stay on the outside, punches and bunches.
Right.
You could win a decision, right? But people are saying, "Oh God, he's that brawler. He's got that hook." But I think the way that you came out and jumped on him, right, and then
Right.
never took a step back, and then in the fourth round, I don't know if it was a slip or a knockdown, but it was a Tyson Fury kind of moment. How you just rose to the occasion because I think you won that round because you come
Right.
back and win that round. And then you
Right.
gotta think after a while, you got to think, all right, there's no way that Ivan can keep up this pace. There's just no way. And then still, like rounds 5 through the round. But other than that, you were like leading the dance the whole time, and and you got Gotti to back up, and Gotti never
Right.
backs up. So I think
Right.
I think that's why it was the fight of the year because it was the unexpected. You know?
Right. That's a good way of putting it. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, right from the get-go, they think Gotti's gonna try to meet him in the middle. Ivan's gonna box, throw punches and bunches, and it's gonna be a close fight. It could go either way. But I think after the way you pressed him and people say that he's maybe one of the greatest brawlers of all time. But
Yeah.
you out brawled him. So
Right.
what does that say? I mean, that's one of the best fights of all time, in my opinion.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Seriously. Now know we're getting late. I want to be respectful of your time.
Oh,
So, is
you
that all
good,
right?
you good. Yeah.
Out of all the fights you had, whether it be Gotti, Cesar Chavez, any of those guys, what would you say was the most satisfying time in your life, the most memorable? Like you look back on your career and you're saying, "Oh, that time I was the most happiest," or that time was the most memorable. What would you say that?
Gaddy,
Yeah,
Gaddy. But like I said, Gaddy put me on a pedestal.
yeah,
And one thing that I like about Gaddy, he by him being a puncher, he always thought he always had a chance. And it was just in some fights he didn't. Like the Floyd Mayweather fight.
yeah.
He really did not have a chance. He didn't have a chance at all. But with his style, the way he fought, and the people, I mean, the people love this guy. So, you had to give it to him. So that's why I think that was it for me. Um, yeah, the Gaddy fights. Angel Man Freddy was pretty good, but I wasn't there like I should have been, like I was in the Gaddy fights. I actually can say that the Gaddy fights took something out of me that I thought that it didn't, but it did because at the same time, even though Angel Man Freddy had just got beat by Floyd Mayweather, got knocked out, because Angel wasn't sure if he wanted to fight me. I think we went like a whole month and a half before Angel Man Freddy decided to sign the fight. And with me being on that pedestal already at beating Gaddy, I was just to the point like, man, look, I can do what I want. When the time of the fight, I can get ready when I get ready, when it's time to get ready, which I did, but it took something out of me. And Angel Man Freddy, he was just on his game at the time. That's why he beat me. But other than that, Angel Man Freddy wouldn't beat me. He's a good fighter though. Real
Yeah,
good fighter.
you fought some of the best. Your resume is crazy. You got Leija, Cesar Chavez, Gotti, De La Hoya. It seems you fought all comers,
Yeah. I guess I was in that era. And I guess my dad taught me really well.
for sure. Now, did your dad told you just to take it on, like take on these big names and you kind
No, actually I was just the type of fighter that I didn't back down. I didn't back down from nobody. When they called me and said, Ivan, we want you to fight on such and such, we want you to fight whoever. I was like, what's the date? What's the time where I gotta be? And I went to the gym and I got ready.
for sure. Now let's talk about, let's say, after boxing, retirement. How long did it take you to get into training, into managing? Was it instant or did you take some time off?
Well, I caught myself taking some time off. Um, I decided to take time off and just like not think about it, just try to be a regular person. But it it just kept calling me. So I went to the gym one day and I looked around and I said I was just gonna look. I'm not gonna let nobody entice me to try to train them or manage them or whatever, being their corner, whatever the case may be. I'm not doing it. And as I still do today, I have a weakness for kids. And there was a little kid in the gym by the name of June June, Juan Davila from Jersey. He couldn't have been no more than about 6 or 7. And his dad knew who I was. He came over to me. He's like, "Can you do me a favor?" I was like, "What's up?" He like, "Can you look over my son and tell me what my son doing wrong, or could you get in there and tell him what he's doing wrong?" Me and his son both looked at each other like, so I was teaching him the jab and the right hand, and something just said the next day, "I've been go to the gym." I went to the gym. I seen him again, and I worked with him for like 5 months.
Wow.
And then we did. Then from there on, I just continued to start working with people.
Yeah. Now, this is one thing too. I think did you ever experience this like when you're done? And it could be even with your son in basketball. I played basketball, but like, not on the level of you being, a professional boxer, one of the best ever. But do you feel like once you're done your activity, whether that be boxing or basketball, you almost go through like an identity crisis or something for a little bit. where you don't quite know, and maybe you try to like ignore it, like I'm not gonna get back into it, but then it just pulls you back in. Did you experience that?
Well, that's crazy because no, really, the only thing that I've experienced that um I try to be a man of my word, regardless if it's boxing, relationship, teaching my kids, talking to the youth, anything. I try to stand on what it is that I say that comes out of my mouth. And I made a commitment to my dad that when I retired, I would never box again. I never said I wouldn't train again. And I never said that I wouldn't be a manager. Actually, I did say that I wouldn't want to be a manager, but hey, it happened. But I always kept my promise to my dad that I would never box again. And it caused me a lot. It
Yeah.
really does. It's to the point where it caused me to the point where I want to hit the bag or whatever. But I find myself hitting the bag and then I just stop. I be like, nah, I can't do that. But I need to leave it alone. And I had people call me talking about doing a celebrity boxing. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, I made good money. I'm not the richest guy in the world, but like I said, I would never do anything different as far as the sport of boxing. I would never disrespect it. Um, I love it. Um, at times it's definitely brutal. Not even to the point as being a fighter, just being in it, being around the fighters, uh, being in the mix with the promotion, with the promoters, the other managers, the fighters, the opposite fighters that's supposed to be fighting your fighter, or your fighter gonna fight that fighter. So it's brutal, but I'd rather take that before I decide to step back in the ring as a fighter. But I will always step in the ring as a trainer,
Yeah, to help kids and everything like that. What's some
basically.
what's some advice that you do tell? Like, let's say there's a young fighter watching this, or a kid who wants to get into boxing. What would be like some advice you'd give them, some tips?
I would say this. Boxing is like a marriage. How you will want how you will want to treat your wife, or how you will want your wife to treat you, is how you will want to treat boxing. You will want to do all the things that you need to do to become a champion. Do all the things that you need to do to become great, good. Um, and just you participating or just you doing the sport is a plus, a plus, because you can't everyone can't step in that ring and take a shot. Everybody can't step in that ring and throw a jab. So
Yeah.
that's it. But also for all the young kids from like 8 to 17, get an education. Make sure you go to school. That's all I can tell you. I mean, I can't tell you nothing else.
And that's all good stuff. Even
Thank you.
just talking to a couple, like talking to Tyrone Crawley, before rest in peace to Ty. But he said he ended up, after he retired, he ended up becoming a police officer, and Philly police officer. He was in the paratroopers vet, and but he worked with my uncle and pal, and that's kind of how they got pretty close. But
Okay.
he would always say it was tough to to turn off the warrior switch, and that's why I became a cop. Like with fighting and training his whole life, that like mindset. And he trained since he was a kid, a young kid too. He always said it would be hard to turn that off. So he ended up doing a similar thing. He became a cop. He would mentor kids, train kids, and his son ended up being a pretty good fighter.
Yeah. I actually was training him right before Big Tyrone passed away. Because I love Tyrone. Big
Butterfly.
Tyrone. Yeah, Butterfly.
I got Ty up
And
here. Let me show you this.
actually he introduced me to his dad. I mean, he introduced me to his son.
Yeah.
And me and his son hit it off, and he asked me help me train his son. I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, for a legend like Tyrone Crawley to ask me to train his son, and I watched him. Oh yeah, I thought there was a lot of love and respect. So yeah, the Crawley family is like family.
Yeah, same. Yeah, they're like family to us too. Ty, we're
Uh-huh.
like him and my uncle were really close. But I want to show you
Right.
something too. I got Ty up here. I got Fraser right here. Oh, I dropped it. And I got Mighty.
That's what's up.
I got you. Well, I appreciate it, champ. I want to keep you up too late on 4th of July. Yeah, I want to keep you up too late. I appreciate you doing it, champ.
Thanks.
Is there anything like you want to say, like people watching, like maybe they come train or maybe your social medias, people can follow you, train
On
with
Instagram is Mighty Robinson 1. Facebook is Ivan Robinson.
Got it.
Like I said, I was at Harrogate, but Harrogate closed down. So right now I'm gymless right now, but I don't think it'll be too long before I get back in the gym.
Nah, it won't be too long. You're a legend. You know what I mean? Wherever you want to go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, champ. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'll upload this tonight on YouTube. I'm gonna stay up. I'm gonna edit it, and then I'll upload it, and then tomorrow morning you'll be able to we'll share it around and people can
Okay.
watch it.
All right, I appreciate it, man. Anytime, anything, anywhere you need something, just reach out.
No, I appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. You're a legend to me. I really look up to you. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, champ.